All right, welcome back, everyone, to the third episode of the Inside Track podcast. This is just a weekly handicapping podcast that analyzes the feature races of the week on Equibase.com. I'm your host, Ben Kudla, with the Equibase Company, and today my guest analyst is Ellis Starr, who's the National Racing Analyst for Equibase. You can follow all his expert insights on X at UberCapper. So, welcome, Ellis. Thanks for being here.
Hey, Ben, thanks a lot. It's a very exciting week in racing. We've got Del Mar and Saratoga in full swing and lots of other action. We're starting to get ready for some Breeders' Cup preps and see how the 3-year-olds are doing this weekend. So a lot of exciting stuff going on.
Yeah, it'll be a great weekend of racing, following a great weekend of racing past weekend. So here we
And
go. So,
congrats, by the way, Dornock
oh,
last
thank
week.
you. I
Nice pick.
appreciate it. Yep. Ended up picking the try that race, so ended up being a good Haskell. Not so much on the other race we we handicapped. That was interesting one with the Cassie 5-1 coming in, but that's racing, is what it is,
Yeah,
unpredictable in
that's
ways.
yeah, absolutely.
But before we start, so Equibase has a couple of promotions running. So for just $99, you can get a quarterly Race Lens subscription. For $99, you can get a quarterly Premium Pass Performance subscription. And then with Del Mar, for the whole meet of full card pass performances is just $50. And same goes for Saratoga, full meet cards for $65. So all those promo codes and links will be in the video description down below, as well on all Equibase socials and the Equibase website.
Yeah, I
So
want to
today will
add,
be,
by the way, I want to add
yep,
real quick that we both use race lunch for handicapping. And, like I say, it's lots of things you can get. We're going to show some videos that come in line with race lens, which totally included in charts. And also, for people that follow me on Twitter and saw something, I don't know if you're aware of this, but race lens, I was looking at a race at the last race at Del Mar opening day. I was looking at a race and looking at race lens, and it allows me to look at pedigree. And I saw a horse that had just run on the dirt, 6 furlongs on the dirt. It was running a mile on the grass, and I kind of tweeted out about 10 minutes before post, so it was in time for some people to get in on it. And I was really surprised when he won. I looked up at the board and he was 35-1. So that was
wow.
a race lines play I would not have seen if I had not looked at the pedigree angle for that horse.
It really is just an incredible handicapping tool with so much information. You can modify your angles and really find any stat that you're looking for. And you can find some 35-1s like you had last week. So yeah, absolutely. Look up Race Lens for anyone's interested. But anyway, so today we'll be going over the Grade 2 500,000 Jim Dandy Stakes at Saratoga this Saturday. Absolutely stacked race. I'm very excited for this one. Last year we saw Forte for trainer Todd Pletcher and the Rapoli stable take the Jim Dandy by a nose over Saudi Crown in a dramatic finish. So that'll be an exciting one this Saturday. And we'll also be going over the Grade 1 400,000 Bing Crosby Stakes at Del Mar this Saturday, which is a Breeders' Cup winning you're in for the Breeders' Cup Sprint back at Del Mar in November. So the chosen Brawn was your Bing Crosby winner last year for trainer Eric Cooljack on a thrilling 3-horse finish where he inched out to win by a head over Anarchist and Dr. Chevelle. That actually made the chosen Crone's 8th stakes victory in a row last year in the Bing Crosby. So let's just dive right into the Grade 2 Jim Dandy going a mile and an eighth on the dirt for 3-year-olds. Like I said, a stacked race. You got 2 Kentucky Derby alumni, Fiercest and Sierra Leone, going head to head. Kind of interesting, since 1991, 61 horses who ran in the Derby have run in the Jim Dandy, and 17 of those are winners. So kind of an interesting stat. You also have your Preakness winner, Seize the Gray, coming back after a disappointing finish in the Belmont, but we'll see what he can do Saturday. And also your Ohio Derby winner, Batten Down, who's been improving in every start and faces a first real test in the Ohio Derby last time out. So here we go for the Jim Dandy. What do you got, Ellis? What are your thoughts? What are your picks?
Well, similar to last week in the Haskell, and of course, first in the scratch, so kind of messed up a little bit because I did expect him to. I mean, knew he might scratch, but if he ran, I really hoped he would, because he really would have affected the pace a lot. Didn't really matter. I think Dornock would have won no matter what. Tuscan Sky did not run well at all. I think the same thing here. I have 2 pace scenarios. One in which Sees the Gray goes to the front. He's got the 2 posts. He's probably going to go. That's been what Torres has been doing. He did in the Pat Day Mile, but that was a 1-turn race. He had him third early. But in the Preakness and Belmont, he sent him, and he'll try and take advantage, knowing Sierra Leone is going to take back the last of the field of 6. Batten Down wired the field in his maiden race in the Ohio Derby, which we'll look at in a second. But he's not necessarily need the lead type, because prior to that, at a mile and 16th at Keeneland, he relaxed nicely and got beat a head and a half length for the win, closing from sixth that day under Junior Alvarado, who'll be riding him in the Jim Dandy. So pace scenario one is that Seize the Gray goes. Pony Express, shipping out from California, is a maiden winner, and historically maiden to this race is not a good angle. It doesn't play at all. It does earlier in the year, but not at all. As you mentioned, horses are coming out of stakes, particularly the Derby or the Belmont. So Pony Express, he showed tremendous California speed. I don't think Rosario is going to rate him 1 second. That puts those two there. And then what do you do with Fierceness? Because he's a need lead type. All three of his wins have come when on the lead from the start. I don't think he's really taken dirt in his face. You could say basically his Breeders' Cup Juvenile, he's had second, but that's not really his style. His maiden win, particularly his Florida Derby win, was wire to wire, and I think he just gets his juices going. So I see a battle there. Puts Batten Down pretty much in fourth early. I put School Gold in fifth and Sierra Leone in sixth. So Sierra Leone unfortunately opens at even money here. He has had the highest Equibase speed figures. Definitely a horse that we have to consider, and he's been his own worst enemy the last two races, where he stumbled at the start in the Belmont, and of course in the Derby he laid all over Forever Young and was so busy worrying about that horse and Tyler doing his best to get him off that Mystic Dan got the win by a nose, even though they were both closing pretty well. But I do want to take a look at the Ohio Derby, because that will cover both Batten Down and Gould's Gold. And as we'll see in the race, Batten Down is on an easy lead. I think we're picking it up about a minute and a half into the race. And he's been on an easy lead here. Go ahead and make that full screen. So he's been on an easy lead here. They have weird camera angles here, typical of some tracks these days. He's really running easily. Gould's Gold is just about to get into second. Catching Freedom was 2-5. And they're going to finish the same way here. But what's interesting is that Batten Down is going to get a little pressed, and he's just going to continue that same stride. And this is a horse that's an improving 3-year-old. He's a little more lightly raced than most of them here. He's run 5 times. For those that don't know, he is a full brother to Tacitus. But more important to me, he's a full brother to Scylla, who just won the Fleur de Lis at 9 furlongs at Churchill Downs. So he's going to win pretty easily. Gold's going to hold second. So if you take that race and now you put them in second or third and fourth behind Fierceness and Seize the Gray and Pony Express, I think these two really have decent shots. Let's take a look at the Belmont again, and that'll give us a look at Seize the Gray. We'll look at the beginning, and then in the end with Sierra Leone. You'll also notice at the start, when we bring this up, that Seize the Gray is going to make the lead, but Sierra Leone, who is in the dark blue silks, I think he's the 8 or the 9. We'll see in a second when we get to the race. And go and maximize that, and we will look. And he's going to actually take a bad step and kind of bump the horse inside of him. He's going to be the 9 here in those dark blue silks. He gets bumped. He gets actually bumped into the horse, takes back.
Mine slammed him into Anna Marie there. The 8.
Yeah, he got slammed. And not that he would not been last, but I think it took a little out of him. Then we'll go to towards the end of the race, and at the end, I think it was the far turn. I think I gave you a point to pick up on this video. Go. And he's going to be second to last here now. Of course, Pratt's up on the first time riding him, didn't panic at all. And Sierra Leone's going to do what he always does, which is he's going to relax early, and when he's asked to make a move, he's going to really quicken. That's what he did in the Bluegrass. That's what he did in the Risen Star. It's what he did last year in the Remsen when he made the lead and then got beat by Dornoch.
Look how far back he is here.
One more race, And then when he starts to move, you see, it looks like he's being passed. And then all of a sudden, boom, he just quickens that stride. And that's going to be, pretty impressive. At this
here comes another bump. There you go, by Protective.
Yeah, that's correct. Yep, you got another bump. The problem here at this point is that these two horses have just so much energy left, Dornoch and Mindframe. Mindframe's doing his thing where he's veering out again. And Sierra Leone just can't make up the distance, but he's trying really hard. He'll probably try hard again.
Third.
Yeah, absolutely. He doesn't stop running at all. I mean, you can see he comes to the outside. He actually gets his head on the tail. So you'd say another couple strides, he could win the race. And I can't knock him, and he's even money. So anyway, I kind of made the case here. I think Batten Down, Gould's Gold run 3-4, 4-5. Sierra Leone 6th. I think Sierra Leone wins, but he's not a good bet. So my play of the race is going to be a win bet on Batten Down at about 3-1 or more. I'm going to play I'm going to play Gould's Gold since he's 15-1 morning line is an exacta key. I'm going to box him Gould's Gold and Sierra Leone and Gould's Gold and Batten Down. And then I'm going to play an exacta Batten Down over Sierra Leone and Gould's Gold. If Sierra Leone wins, he's going to win without me. I know he could win, and I certainly wouldn't knock it. But that's the place to make money in the race, even though I think Sierra Leone is probably the best horse.
I appreciate it. I really hope you get that Gould's Gold in second. I mean, he's 15-1 morning line, but I would imagine him being maybe even a little bit more come post time. So we shall see. But anyway, to me, I think this race is pretty straightforward. Hard to make money, but is what it is. It might be the play to kind of key in some doubles and pick threes. But my top play is Sierra Leone. He's ranked first in average speed in class this race. First in middle pace with a 101.7 and first in late pace with a 110. Had that brilliant effort in the Derby, that amazing 3-horse finish, and like you said, was bumping all with Forever Young, and just placed second by a hair to Mystic Dan, but still a great race regardless. And he came back honestly to run that strong race in the Belmont. Tough start, like we said, mind frame slamming into him, then he slams into Anna Marie. And then he's finally coming back on the final turn and then gets another bump by a Protective. And he still finished and rallied strong and ran a hard third. He's 2 for 3 at the 1.125 distance. Only second in the Remsen by nose to Dornoch again. I think it was a really smart move to change to Pratt last time out in the Belmont. He practiced them out again. Him and Chad Brown went at 28% in dirt route graded stakes races in the last 3 years. And the last year, they've actually won 57% on dirt route graded races together. It's tough to make wagers one-on-one, or 1-to-1. But like I said, I think this is just an easy key for me. I don't really think Fierceness will show up. I could be wrong, but we shall see. So for my second pick, I'm going to go with your pick, Batten Down. He's morning line 5-1. I think honestly we have yet to see the potential of this horse. He had his first real test there in the Grade 3 Ohio Derby at Thistledown, but he beat Gould's Gold, Copper Tax, Catching Freedom, and Uncle Heavy. It was also a 1.125 race, so he likes this distance. I'm a little concerned that he needs the lead to win, especially with so much speed in this race. And we'll see how this race plays out, if who's going to be aggressive on the lead. But in Hall of Fame trainer, Bill Mott and Junior Alvarado, they win a 28% clip in graded stakes races. And Batten Down has actually had increasing Equibase speed figures every race of his life. And Bill Mott wins at 26% since 1991 with horses with 5 consecutive increasing speed numbers. So I think I'll play him underneath. I don't imagine he'll stay at 5-1, but we shall see. And then third, I'm going to go with Fierceness. I really don't know how this horse is going to do. He's an interesting scratch back in the Haskell. But when you take out the Kentucky Derby, this horse is pretty unreal on paper, winning that Breeders' Cup Juvenile by 6 1/4 lengths, won the Florida Derby by 13 1/2 lengths, running a 110 Equibase speed figure in both those races. Pletcher, he wins at 22% in 60 to 90-day layoffs and stakes races. We'll see if this horse is really the real deal. You can see a pattern with him. He got 7th in the Champagne, came back to win the Juvenile, got 3rd in the Holy Bull, came back to win the Florida Derby, and he got 15th there in the Kentucky Derby, and maybe we'll see a win here on Saturday by him. But for me, it's all Sierra Leone. I'll single him in exotics. So those are our plays for the Grade 2 Jim Dandy at Saratoga on Saturday. It's race 10, post time at 5:43. All right. Next up, we have the Grade 1 Bing Crosby Stakes at Del Mar, going 6 furlongs on the dirt for 3-year-olds and up. It's the Breeders' Cup winning your in race for the Breeders' Cup Sprint. Could be an excellent prep race considering the Breeders' Cup is at Del Mar this year in November. We got a field of 9, including the defending Bing Crosby champ, the Chosen Braun. Really solid betting race, honestly. I'm looking forward to this one too, and trying to make some money. But what are your thoughts on this race? What do you got?
Well, we haven't seen the morning lines yet, and I know we're going to pull up a video in a second, but I actually want to change. I want to show both the Maryland Sprint and then the most recent race by Straight No Chaser. Let's start with that. When you can do that, Ben, let's pull up that video of Straight No Chaser, starting with the Maryland Sprint last year, which is May 20th. It was a Preakness Day of 2023, and he was the 8-5 favorite. Against decent horses, Prevalence and Nakatomi. I think Nakatomi's coming back today in a stakes race at Saratoga. And Straight No Chaser, well, I think he's the 8 here, but it really won't matter because you see he's going to make the lead really easily. And that's the way he wins his races. He won his 3rd career start that way, and then he won the race before this at Oaklawn in April of last year. And then he's going to make the lead here in the Maryland Sprint, as I said. But what's interesting about it,
Let's go ahead and start this.
There we go. What's interesting about it is he's going to do it rather easily. And once he gets into a steady stride, he's very interestingly tough. And he's also fast. I mean, that race he went 22 and 44 and 3 over Pimlico. See how easy he makes it. He's going to get pressed on the inside. It's really interesting to see is in that race, Johnny Velasquez is riding. And again, they're going to do camera switches here. But Velasquez is riding, and he lets the horse come inside. And then he's going to look inside because he kind of wants to clear. And when he asks him just a little bit, looks like it's hanging up. I'll catch up in a second here. When he asks him a little bit, we'll just say he then pulls off again. And then he's running really easy. Now the horse is going to come to the outside. It shows a half a length lead. And then he just hits another gear. And that was a 2nd career best effort. The one before that was at 6 furlongs at Oaklawn with a 113 Equibase speed figure. This was a 109. I don't think Johnny ever takes the crop off the reins because he's just opening up. So then we can end this now and then go to the race that he's come back. So something happened after that, and you don't see him from May of last year to May of this year. And there's most recent that race. Then he ships to New York to run in the Run Happy Stakes. So he must be training really well, and they're very high on him. And I believe he's on the rail here. And you will see a horrible, horrible start.
Ooh, brutal.
Completely. So he doesn't get the lead like he wants. And then he's going to send him into the teeth of it. Absolutely into the teeth of that race from 3 lengths back to go. And obviously, we don't need to watch the rest at this point. He's going to fade to 4th after making that lead and opening up. So you can draw a line. I actually took my Sharpie. I drew a line right through that race. And he did show some speed. Since that race, he's worked out fantastically. He went back to Santa Anita, back to the care of Dan Blacker, who was off suspension, 59 and change, best of 82, and a 59 flat, best of 66. He got all his speed. Yeah. If Straight No Chaser makes the lead in this race, I don't think he's coming back to the field. So he's my top pick, even though Chosen Braun is just a heck of a horse. Let's go back and look at last year's Bing Crosby. Last year, he had won the Thor's Echo Stakes near the end of May, and he got a 101 Equibase speed figure, and then he got a 113 winning the Bing Crosby, which, as I pointed out, was the figure that Straight No Chaser got when he ran so fast, winning his race in May of last year. So almost about the same time of year, too. And then the Chosen Braun won the Thor's Echo recently. But last year's Bing Crosby is better because he, for some reason, even though he was on a win streak, he was 9-2 in that race. Go ahead.
Yeah, that is wild. He was 9-2 after seven stakes in a row before that.
Yep. They're all Calbred stakes. It's one of the reasons that he wasn't as well regarded. But he relaxes here in 6th. I think we can pick. He's the 4 horse. Yeah, he's 9-2.
Yeah, he's the 4.
And he relaxes. We can just let it run. He relaxes here in 6th place. I guess the graphic has him 7th. He's going to come and just take his time and then really
there on the rail all alone.
Real quick. Yeah. And he's just going to, he's a really smart horse. There's a lot of traffic trouble here. He gets off the rail and avoids the issues. And from there on in, it's just going to be, let's see what's happening. They ran 21-4 in front of him, which if Straight No Chaser gets an easy lead, he can probably get 22-2, which might dull the Chosen Vron's late
Here's the
kick.
move that I love right here. Finds that little hole,
Yeah.
angles towards the rail.
Now this is a smart horse. I mean, he knows what his job is. So that was his best race, second best race ever. His best actually speed figure, I should say. But he has to battle here down on the wire, and
Yeah, he really
he just
does.
shows up. He shows up. But he's going to be even money, even in this more salty field than the Thor's Echo. He beat Happy Jack in the Kona Gold one before that. He's definitely the horse to beat, but Straight No Chaser can get the lead. So my play in the race is going to be, and one more thing, Straight No Chaser has 4 wins and no seconds. Chosen Vron is 18 wins and 1 second. These horses don't finish second if they don't win. So
Yep.
I'm gonna play Close the Game Sugar, who ships in from Kentucky, and Happy Jack, who ran second to the Chosen Vron in the Kona Gold, then won the Triple Band, which is at 7 furlongs. He cuts back to 6 now. I'm going to use them in second. So I'm playing an exact of Straight No Chaser and the Chosen Vron over Close the Game Sugar and Happy Jack, and I'm betting Straight No Chaser to win. And that's my take on the Bing Crosby, which is also, as you mentioned, our Equibase race of the week.
Yeah, it is our Equibase race of the week. Check out Ellis's analysis there on the Equibase website. But yeah, I love this race. It's kind of interesting because you look at it and it almost doesn't even seem like a grade one. I shouldn't say that, but you look at these other horses. I mean, they're coming out of starters, allowances, and it's interesting, but it does make for a good betting race. I'm actually going to go with the 7 here, Happy Jack. We don't know the morning line yet, but I can't imagine him being too low odds. But he's got a brilliant late pace rating of 130, which is ranked first in the race with a ton of speed in this race. I don't think he can get too far back at Del Mar, but if he stays up close behind the leaders, I think he does have a great chance. His last 3 races, he's thrown 100-plus Equibase speed figure, an impressive performance in that Grade 2 Triple Bend Stakes at Santa Anita back in June, where he won by 4.5 lengths, running a 110 Equibase speed figure. And I mean, he's just a completely different horse after that Triple Crown season in 2022. I think he's just improving as he gets older. And if you look at a couple races back, he's 5th only by 2.25 lengths in that Kelly's Landing Stakes, with the top 2 finishers of that race, Bango and Marsalis, winning in their next starts back. So it was tough company, and he ran decent. In the last 3 years, Doug O'Neill with Edwin Maldonado, they're 1-for-1 in graded stakes at Del Mar. I know it's not a huge pool, but they are 100%, so can't knock it. And since 1991, 14 horses have run in the Triple Bend Stakes before winning the Bing Crosby. So I think that's something to look at. I'm hoping to get a price on him. We'll see when these morning lines and odds come out. My second play is the Chosen Vron. This horse, he's done nothing wrong in the last 2 years. He won 10 out of 11 races, including that Grade 1 Bing Crosby last year and the Grade 3 San Carlos Stakes. And the only race he lost was that Breeders' Cup Sprint where he got 5th. And obviously, as we all know, those Breeders' Cup races are pretty intense, pretty difficult. So not a bad 5th. Last 12 races he's had all ran over 100 Equibase speed figure. He did beat Happy Jack in his last start in that Kona Gold Stakes where he drew clear. He was first by half a length and finished by winning by 3/4 of a length. It's hard not to like this horse, but I think as a money-making standpoint, when I look at Happy Jack and Chosen Vron, I think I'd rather just take Happy Jack and try to make some more money. But we shall see. My third pick, I do like what you're saying with Straight No Chaser, but I think this unknown Jackstown is very interesting. Very lightly raced, just 2 races under his belt as a 4-year-old. He took that 2-year layoff after breaking his maiden at Del Mar back in July of 2022. In his first race back, really impressive win. It was just an allowance company, a other than, but he ran a 103 Equibase speed figure, and that's pretty impressive after a 2-year layoff. And Baffert wins at 24% in graded stakes with horses second after a layoff. Been working out like a monster, 4 furlongs at 46.2 at Del Mar on June 20th. And right before that, a bull at 5 furlongs going 59 and 4/5 seconds at Santa Anita on the 13th of June. I don't think he'll have enough to win today, but I will definitely play him underneath. But being Bob Baffert out west, I'm probably not going to get that good of a price. But it's also can't overlook that Bob Baffert and Juan Hernandez win at 36%, 73% in the money together with horses moving from allowance to stakes races on the last 3 years. So those are my top three. I'm going to go with the trifecta, try to make some money. I'm going to key Happy Jack on top of the Chosen Vron and Jackstown and Straight Note Chaser on top of the Chosen Vron, Jackstown, and Straight Note Chaser. And I'll also follow that up with the $10 straight win bet on Happy Jack. So there's your Bing Crosby Stakes, race 10 on Saturday at Del Mar. Post is 6:30 p.m. Pacific time, 9:30 p.m. Eastern time. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Thank you, Ellis, for joining me and your great analysis as always. And all right, have a great day, everyone. We'll see you next week.